welcome to today's episode of Heard and Seen Around. I am Rajesh Karipurath. This is my take on macroeconomic and geoeconomic data points, which I find interesting. I hope you enjoy watching it as much as I enjoyed curating it. Cheers.
Corporate efficiency is when three departments spend 2 weeks preparing a deck for a meeting that gets rescheduled. Every market crash is called unprecedented, which is bold considering how often it seems to happen. We value work-life balance usually means we value you being online while you pretend to have a life. Our productivity tools are amazing. I now have 7 platforms to remind me what I still haven't done. My retirement plan is mostly based on the hope that future me is smarter than current me.
So much for the funeral for the US dollar. The de-dollarization crowd might need to cancel the flowers. While emerging markets have slowed their buying of treasuries, private institutions are doing the heavy lifting, snapping them up faster than Elon Musk launches startups. The reality? EMs like China haven't been buying simply because they don't have the dollars to spare. Their foreign inflows have been thin. But if US households start spending again and global dollar flows rise, those same EMs won't have too many choices. They'll be back buying US treasuries. India's post-COVID sprint has officially slowed down to a jog. High-frequency data from auto sales to freight show that the economy is still moving but just not racing. Maruti's sales are down 2%, Hyundai's slipped 4%, though Mahindra's SUVs are still flexing with a 12% rise. The festive season glow, more flicker than fire. Personal loans, the unsung hero of post-COVID consumption, are showing fatigue too, growing at just 12% versus 25% last year. In short, the recovery engine's humming, but it's clearly lost a cylinder. As Hans Rosling said, things can be bad and getting better, but let's not forget the sequel. Things can be good and deteriorating. In the high-stakes world of global shipping, 3 nations call the shots: Greece, China, and Japan. Together, they command over 40% of the world's total shipping capacity. And that's not just market share, that's maritime monopoly. Greece tops the list with 16.4% of global carrying capacity, proving that you don't need a massive economy to rule the waves. Just really big ships and a lot of them. China is right behind with 14.4%, and Japan sails steady at nearly 10%. India's IPO scene is buzzing, but here's the twist. Most of the action isn't fresh money coming in, it's old money cashing out. In 2025, 65% of IPO value came from OFS, offers for sale, up from 58% in 2023. Translation: promoters and investors are selling, not racing. Even more striking, nearly 70% of those sales came directly from promoters, the folks who build the companies. That's not necessarily bad, it signals a maturing market where investors finally have an exit ramp. But as Warren Buffett warned, if you're playing poker and you don't know who the patsy is, you are the patsy. India's love affair with Russian oil seems to be cooling off. Imports from Russia dropped 17% year-on-year this September, down to just 6.6 million tons, and that's not just because of geopolitics. A 10% slide in global crude prices also trimmed the total import value. But here's the twist. While Russian barrels are cheaper, by around $500 a ton, India is now buying more from pricier suppliers like the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and the US. It's a bit like switching from a value buffet to a la carte. More expensive, but politically safer. Here's a dose of geopolitical reality. The US might talk tough on China, but when it comes to stuff that actually matters, it's hooked. Take this. China now accounts for a quarter of global chip making capacity, dominates battery production with giants like CATL and BYD, holding 45% of the market, and supplies most of the active ingredients in America's medicines, from vitamin C to ibuprofen. As Henry Kissinger once said, it may be dangerous to be America's enemy, but to be its friend is fatal. India's food services market is cooking up some serious growth. From $67 billion in FY24 to a whopping $107 billion by FY30. That's not just inflation, that's transformation on a plate. The biggest trend, the organized sector's rise. It will nearly double, while unorganized players finally start losing some spice. Food delivery, once a lockdown luxury, is now mainstream, set to jump from $9 billion to $21 billion. Meanwhile, dine-out spending will surge too, but with a twist. Premium restaurants are winning the appetite war. Here's the October tech funding plot twist. India's startups raised $1.05 billion across 31 rounds, up a massive 166% from the previous fortnight, but still down nearly 70% year on year. So yes, the graph looks more like a seesaw than a rally. Most of the action came from late-stage deals, grabbing almost 70% of the pie. Zepto topped the list with $300 million, followed by Unifor at $260 million, while Lightspeed, Peak 15 and Venture Catalyst stayed the busiest VCs in the room.